Then said Jesus to the crowds and to his disciples, "The scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. All they say to you, practice and observe, but their deeds do not practice. For they say, but do not practice. They bind heavy burdens hard to bear and lay them on a man's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with their finger. All their deeds they practice to be seen by men, for they make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long. And they love the first place at feasts, and the first seats in the synagogues, and salutations in the marketplaces, and being called Rabbi by men. But you do not be called Rabbi, for you have one teacher, and you are all brothers. And call no man your father on earth, for you have one Father who is in heaven. Neither be called guide, for your only guide is the Christ. He who is the greatest among you shall be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Good morning. Welcome to a short biblical reflection on the Gospel according to Matthew chapter 23, verses 1 up to 12. I entitled it Saying and Doing, the Gospel reading for the 31st Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year A. In this fragment, we can distinguish two major parts. The first one runs up to verse 7, with the focus on what the scribes and the Pharisees do, starting in verse 3, that they say, but they practice differently. The same verb I translated in all instances. It could be translated do, but to do and in English could be somehow confusing. In order to distinguish it, I translated in all four instances practice. And those Pharisees and scribes, they say one thing, but they do, it means they practice a different thing. And what they in fact practice is illustrated in verse 4, that they bind heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on people's shoulders. And then in verse 5 again is retaken, which begins with the same word all as verse 3. All they deeds they practice in order to be seen by other people, and then was illustrated with the reason because they love the first places and the first seats. Also here I translated literally the Greek words and also salutations. So they do in order to be seen by others, in order then consequently to benefit from the other people. And then in second part, the emphasis what the disciples should avoid is retaking the last word from verse 7, Rabbi, that they should not be called Rabbi because there is one teacher, God himself, nor the Father because there is only one Father, again a reference to God. And the last one I translated as guide because there is only one guide, whom is the Christ. So those three words are applying to specific usage that they should not pretend to take a position of God himself or Christ himself. And then concludes with this strong emphasis on humility. He who is the greatest among you should be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Now let us see the biblical context that can shed some light on it. Our text, in particular on this emphasis of humility against greatness, could recall the story in chapter 20 when the mother of the Zebedee's son came to Jesus with this request: "Command that these two sons of mine may sit, one at your right hand and one at your left in your kingdom." And after the reaction of the other 10, Jesus says to them, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great men exercise authority over them. It shall not be so among you, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be your slave. Even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom of many. In the line of humility, we could also recall the Beatitudes, but I would like to put now emphasis on this statement at the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount, chapter 5, verse 20. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceed that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. We could also consequently recall those actions which are practiced in order to be seen by others, as at the beginning of chapter 6, when Jesus warns that we should not practice prayer, almsgiving, and fasting in order to be seen by others, but in secret, because those actions should be seen by God who sees in secret. And as conclusion, that the words should be also proved by actions, or in other words, there should be compatibility between what we say and what we practice. At the end of the Sermon on the Mount, chapter 7, verses 21 up to 23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and do many mighty works in your name? And then will I declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you evildoers. And as conclusion, of course, also we could refer to the commandment of loving God, where we should love God entirely, not only in one aspect like mouth, not only thoughts, but thoughts, actions, everything, all our personality, our person. I would like to wish you a nice day, a nice reflection on this gospel reading. God bless you.